The temple fair took place in February. The evening glow in winter spread from the west to the whole world. The quiet redness was like a layer of oil painting, changing the color of all pedestrians. Everyone passing by had a smile on their face. Today was the third day of the Lunar New Year, the perfect time to visit the temple fair. The small city of Luo hosted temple fairs in 6 or 7 different places. Lv Shu, I want to eat candied haws, the kind with walnuts in them. A little girl tugged at the sleeve of the teenager in front of her. Her small hand was already pointing to the hawthorn cart on the side of the road. Through the glass window, you could see the bright and transparent hawthorn inside. The little girl was very young, probably only about 10 years old, wearing a clean white down jacket, spotless. The 17-year-old boy named Lv Shu looked at the hawthorn cart with a pained expression, then swallowed and said to the little girl, Lu Xiaoyu. We agreed when we bought your down jacket that if you wanted this jacket, you would have to cut back on other things. Otherwise, I won't have enough money for my high school tuition next semester. You've changed, Lv Shu. Lu Xiaoyu said calmly. Lv Shu's face darkened instantly. Who did you learn this from? Can you watch less soap operas? Then he calculated again and sighed, walking towards the hawthorn cart owner. How much for the one with walnuts? 5 yuan, buy one for your sister, the owner said with a grin. He had already figured out who wanted to eat the candied haws. 0.5 yuan, so expensive. Lv Shu took a crumpled 10 yuan bill from his pocket and handed it to the owner, who gave him back 5 yuan in change. The candied haws were now in hand, a string of 7 fruits with walnuts in them. When Lv Shu handed them to Lu Xiaoyu, she said, I'll eat 5, and leave 2 for you. Lv Shu laughed, patting Lu Xiaoyu's head. Leave 1 is enough. The little girl was still growing, and was only about waist-high to Lv Shu. He could easily pat her head with his hand extended. Okay, Lu Xiaoyu agreed without hesitation. Her pale face and red lips made her look like a porcelain doll in the winter. At this time, several young people passed by, still excitedly discussing the latest news. Did you see the news on the internet yesterday? An old man's soul was said to be visible before he died, but the news was deleted in seconds. Lv Shu watched Lu Xiaoyu munching on the candied haws, thinking to himself that there had been more and more news about paranormal events recently. There was also news about a child's hand emitting blue light, and a man lifting a 2,000-pound object with his bare hands. That he didn't know whether the news was fake or not. Those involved had disappeared as soon as the news was deleted. There were also some videos. For instance, one showed a person's presence causing street lights to flicker. Another showed a woman disappearing out of thin air. Yet another showed a man on a mountaintop, appearing to inhale and exhale clouds and mist. What was consistent was that these videos all eventually disappeared. Lv Shu looked up at the sky, feeling as if something was about to happen, but he didn't know what. Were there really such magical things in the world? But it couldn't be that these things only started appearing after he had been alive for 17 years, right? What was going on? It felt like life was about to deviate from the norm. Let's go see the acrobats. Lv Shu took out the ticket from his pocket and looked at it. There's 20 minutes left. They say this year's temple fair has specially invited an acrobatic troupe. There's a fire performance. At this point, Lu Xiaoyu had finished eating 6 of the candied haws. She handed the hawthorn stick and the remaining hawthorn to Lv Shu. Delicious. Glutton, Lv Shu muttered. This year's acrobatics were indeed unique, and even had a hint of magic. The organizers of the temple fair had set up a huge stage, and it was crowded with people. Only then did Lv Shu feel a bit of the New Year atmosphere. The acrobatics at the beginning were nothing special, just tricks like balancing large jars and juggling flying knives. However, the last act was different. A young man came on stage and was instantly engulfed in flames. Lv Shu was shocked. My God, was it okay to perform like this? Wouldn't he die? Lv Shu, let me ride on your neck to watch, Lu Xiaoyu shouted. Lv Shu was helpless. I can't lift you. Lv Shu looked a bit thin, and his face was an abnormal pale color. This wasn't because he had just been ill, but because he had been weak since he was a child. He had secretly bought and taken Lu Wei Dihuang pills for a while, but the expensive pills he had painstakingly decided to buy and take did not have any noticeable effect after finishing them. He was still very weak. At least this proved that his weakness was not due to his kidneys, which was a kind of consolation. This was how Lv Shu comforted himself. Lv Shu took Lu Xiaoyu and squeezed forward. When they were closer, they could see clearly. Just then, the performer on stage suddenly extinguished his flames, as if he could control them at will. So Lv Shu felt that this year's temple fair ticket price of 20 yuan was definitely worth it. They got to see both acrobatics and magic. The man on stage was sometimes engulfed in flames, and sometimes not. The flames were red with a hint of blue, very brilliant. At the end of the performance, the man threw the flames in his hand towards the audience like a comet's tail, only to extinguish them just before they reached the audience. All the audience applauded and cheered. The performer bowed and left the stage. Only one person was silent. The brilliant flames had been closest to Lv Shu just now. When the fireball approached, Lv Shu suddenly felt a throbbing in his heart. That feeling was like a long-awaited reunion. What was going on? Lv Shu was a bit confused. The feeling was so real that he couldn't doubt it. Lv Shu, I want to learn this. Take me to find him and learn acrobatics. Lu Xiaoyu pulled Lv Shu towards the backstage. What do you want to learn acrobatics for? You're a little girl. This is their top secret skill, they won't teach it to you. And we don't have the money to pay for lessons. Lv Shu was helpless. But he also wanted to see the performer. If possible, he wanted the performer to show him once more. Lv Shu wanted to see what was going on with him just now. However, as soon as he followed Lu Xiaoyu backstage, he saw 4 or 5 men in black windbreakers raise a gun. A small needle-like object hit the fire performer's neck, and he fell to the ground motionless in less than 2 seconds. None of the people in the acrobatics troupe dared to speak. The aura of the men in black windbreakers was too chilling. The bodies hidden under the black windbreakers seemed to have a huge deterrent power. Lv Shu was stunned. What was going on? The situation was a bit off, but Lu Xiaoyu didn't care. Why did you knock him out? For Lv Shu, any normal person would be scared to death in such a strange situation, but Lu Xiaoyu, the little glutton, was always stubborn. Seeing the man she wanted to apprentice to lying motionless on the ground, she was immediately unhappy. Lv Shu was green in the face, and wanted to grab Lu Xiaoyu and run away. But one of the men in the black windbreaker calmly said, this temple fair did not apply for a fire performance fire safety permit. He violated the fire safety routine regulations, so we need to take him back for investigation. I don't believe your nonsense. Lv Shu didn't believe their explanation at all. Even if it was a violation of fire safety, they should find the organizers of the temple fair, right? And which fire inspection team used something that looked like an anesthesia needle to knock people out. There was a problem. A big problem.